Okay, sorry everyone. But thank you for being here. I know it's a Thursday and everyone has been so busy. It's also a very busy period everywhere, most especially in sales, because there's a lot of let's talk next year, and you're trying to find the accounts that won't talk next year. So thank you for taking out that time and spending it with us here at TSN. As usual, every month we bring the best in the industry to please can everyone confirm they can hear me correctly. My network has been terrible today, actually. So please at any point you can hear me, please let me know. Um okay, everyone can hear me. Thank you. So as I was saying, so every month we bring the best of the best in the industry to come speak to us about what sales is, and what we can do to be better at our sales careers. So today we have Yanis, who is a RevOps manager. I think this is the first time we're bringing up a RevOps person. I know that a lot of people do not know that that is a very sales inclined role, and people who handle RevOps have a lot to do with salespeople and helping them, be successful in their work. So today we have Yanis. He is the RevOps manager at Paystack. I think majority of us, or all of us here, know Paystack, maybe, and he will be talking to us on data-driven sales success with Ian. Data-driven sales success. Um, I have had the opportunity to speak with Yanis for like 30 minutes, and I can say that he is very data driven, and he loves his job, and he loves what he does with data, and how it helps him like make decisions on things that need to be done. And we're so happy to have you here, Yanis. And before I take more of the time, I would call you up to start. Maybe just an introduction and tell us more about yourself. Thank you for being here.
Sure. First, thank you everyone because like it's an absolute pleasure to be here and to speak to passionate about sales ecosystem, etc. My name is Yanis. I'm revenue strategy and operation at Paystack. I live in South Africa. I joined Paystack 2 years ago. Before Paystack, I used to work at Google in a kind of same role with sales team. And before this, I worked in data business environments such as consulting and merger and acquisition in banking, investment, stuff like that. So yeah, very happy to be here. Looking forward to the session, and if I can like add anything or if I can bring anything to this session, I'm very happy. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Yanis. So everyone, we're kicking off. Uh, Maybe you want to grab a book and a biro because Yanis is loaded, and I'm not just saying that. Like he has a lot to share, and he this is a topic that is, like I said, is really passionate, you know, about him. So I wanted to ask, like how did you come into like this data driven sales life? Because when we spoke, it sounds a lot like this is something that you do on your day to day and you really enjoy doing it. So how did you come to that point where it became like a part of you?
Yeah, and I guess that's a good question, and it relates to my background, I guess, and the multiple jobs I've done before. I've been always like very close to the business, right? I've never been a data analyst, right? Or a data engineer, or I've never coded anything, but I love the data to leverage decision on the business, right? I used to work a lot in the business, in the process, in the strategy, trying to help companies to increase their revenue, decrease their costs, helping the company to, yeah, bring some more growth, etc., having market studies, etc. And always the data has been like a super cool like way to speed up all my projects, right? And to find yeah, an easy way to solve everything, right? It's not every time like pleasant, because most of the time you have a lot of like messy data, etc. But really, when you embrace this difficulty and you overcome the barrier, you discover that data actually can solve most of your problem on a daily basis. And it's just up to you to roll out processes and decision that make sense out of what you see on the data scope. So yeah, I guess like all my past business and problem solving brought me to help sales team, key account team, and many other team in the revenue scope at Paystack, and I'm very happy so far. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much for sharing a lot about you. So we're going to dive into the questions that we got, while people were registering. One of them was, why should a data-driven approach in sales be embraced? How can it transform our perspective, and about our process as salespeople?
Yeah, I guess this is very good question, and it's not very straightforward as well, because I guess the sales job is a very human and qualitative job, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's much more about relationship and the way you are going to create a huge bond with your prospects or the key account, right? But
Mm-hmm.
you need to use the data actually to improve this relationship, right? To
Yeah.
be sure that all the risk due to this qualitative like impact, such as the relationship, etc., things that you are not controlling can be manageable and you can control them. And I find the data a good way to measure even this relationship, right? Even the most qualitative and human stuff can be measured with data. For example, the satisfaction of your customer, the number of call you have with him, the availability of the customer, etc. All of these can be backed with data and also be used to improve your relationship and this very human aspect you have in the sales ecosystem. I would say as well, why not using the data? Just this, because to be honest, the sales space is one of the most like useful space to use data, because everything can be measurable, right? Even the most qualitative stuff. So yeah, you have a process, you have a funnel, you have many stuff. When you look at the marketing space, for example, it's very hard to assess a campaign, right? If it's a digital campaign, that's okay. But if it's like a physical campaign, right? For example, you go in the street, you have t-shirt, and you want like t-shirt with the brand of your like company, right? You want to assess what's the impact of wearing those t-shirts to the adoption of your product or your brand. It's very hard to measure it, right? So why not using data when it's available in the safe space, right? When it's very more complex to have it in other space. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. That makes a lot of sense. So it's, majorly to find places where you can like mitigate risks instead of just like jumping into things because maybe it makes sense to our intuition. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. Can you share some examples like of a successful campaign or project that data helped you achieve your desired results?
Yeah.
Maybe not a project, but like an example of some things, because sometimes when we say data, it flies off our ears.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, like any project could be backed by data, but the last one I had very interesting is that we spotted that actually we had some, like, how to say, a downward trend in our sales closing momentum, right? So our sales
Mm,
team was spending more time to close business, and the sales cycle was like increasing, right? So we
mm,
really try to leverage data to understand why, right? So we looked at the
mm,
close rate, we looked at what's happening in the lower part of the funnel. Nothing was really telling, right? So we went very up in the funnel, and we understood actually that the problem came from the number of leads shared by the marketing team, right?
mm, okay.
They reduced drastically month on month, right? Due to many
Mm,
reasons. And because they reduced, the pipeline was drying out, right? So the sales team had to double down on prospecting more, right? But by prospecting more, they were not able to dedicate most of their time to close, right? So the reason why the closing rate was decreasing is actually not because we were not good at closing. It was because the ratio of number of inbound leads shared by the marketing team was decreasing, right? Pushing the sales rep to go upper in the funnel and like understand it. And I think this was very telling because out of this, right, it's just two
mhm,
ratio, very simple. And out of this, we could at least spot it and start having conversation on how we could like increase our inbound, like
mhm,
improve our marketing because
mhm,
we saw that the problem is actually not closing and sales, it was marketing. So how can we better at this? How can we improve the traffic visit, the sales contact form on our website, blah, blah, blah.
mhm,
So yeah, I think this was like a very good like example of that. If you analyze really the data and if you ask a lot of questions about it, you can find the real reason, right? And the reason is not that obvious, right? You can have an assumption, but then you need to check it. Yeah, and yeah, I guess this was a very good way to leverage the data. Lastly, yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. I like the part where you said, instead of leveraging assumptions,
Yeah.
because most of the time we just do mini manual, what should work, or let's try this out, let's try the other one out. But with data, we can exactly see where the issue comes from, and we can tackle it head on. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. Um, so the next question says, what are some key metrics or data points that sales team should track to improve performance?
Yeah, this one I like it because if I had to answer, I could give you like we could spend the night creating ratio, like looking at data, and like to
Um,
be honest, there is an infinite way to create data and view data out of ratio, etc. Because our funnel can be so segmented that you can create as many ratio as you want. But
mm,
I think the right way to answer this question is basically the key metrics you need is the one actually you have and you have like a strong feeling out of it, right? A strong hypothesis or a strong gut feeling out of it. For example, a way to answer would be let's map in my process, my actual process, right? Maybe today
mhm,
my process is just about negotiation and closing deal. Okay, fine. So I'm going to check the number of deal I negotiate every day, the number of contract I sign via DocuSign every day, the number of closing call I have before I close the deal, the number of like after selling call, etc., to ensure that my merchant or my prospect has processed the first dollars, etc. So in that case, it's very easy. But you can also have like a very more advanced company or process or team, right? Going
mhm,
from prospecting like leads from digital like network, etc., like social network, right? And then closing them after, right? So I would just map the whole funnel and first have key metrics, two key
mhm,
metrics per stage, And those metrics could be the time spent in each and every stage. And the second metric would be the conversion rate in between the stages, right? So I think
Mm,
it's a good way that could that could fit any company at any stage, right? The time
mm,
and then the conversion, the time and the conversion. And by looking at it at first, you can say, oh, okay, actually, I spend a lot of time up in the funnel, but my conversion rate is very low close like at the closing. And based on that, you can
mm.
start building stuff and assuming all the data you might need to deep dive in this path. Yeah. Did I answer the question?
Okay. Yes, you did.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, of course you did. So I like the part of, calling out names, like from the start of a sales cycle to like when you eventually close the sales cycle. So yes, you actually answered the question.
Cool, cool.
So I just wanted to say before we move forward, I know that some of us sent out the questions, but if you have more questions as Yanis is speaking, do not forget to drop it here on the chat, and I would, find a way to work with it too. So thank you so much. So the next question is asking, in your opinion, how does sorry, how many small or early stage sales teams start incorporating data into their strategy, even if they lack sophisticated tools? Like, in your wildest guess, from small teams and early stage like sales
Mm.
teams, h- um sorry, for small and early stage sales teams,
Yeah. Yeah.
how can they start incorporating data into their strategy, even if they don't have like the sophisticated tools? Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
the question.
Yeah, I like it. I really like this question because I think it's one of the most important, right? Because,
Mm,
like, to give you context, one could think that the more sophisticated system and CRM and like, I don't know, tooling, etc., we have, the more efficient we will be in visualization the data. Actually, I
mm,
do not agree because it will bring a lot of noise if you don't have like a clear ID and if your system doesn't match the team size, right? So for example, if you have
yeah,
Tableau, Salesforce connected to many integration, but you have only two or three sales, one sales manager, right? And two or three markets, right? I'm not sure if it's the best investment you should do, right, in your company,
mm-hmm,
because to be
mm-hmm,
honest, I was just stick on a regular Google Sheet, right? A regular Google Sheet would do the job way more than any Salesforce reporting, etc. stuff, right? It's hard to get the data. It's hard to like how to say create dashboard, etc. So, for example, for
yeah,
early stage team and small teams, Google Sheet well structured, right? Mapping
yeah,
clearly the ID and the process, for example, one tab per week, right? Week of
yeah,
week of May, first week of May, second week of May, etc. And then three or four
mm,
columns reflecting the funnel, and in a row the different sales rep or the different person working in the organization, saying, for
mm,
example, maybe, okay, number of discovery calls we had, number of deal we created, number of deal we signed, number of deal we closed, number of revenue we had this week, right? And then you could
mm,
aggregate all of those tables in one central table at the beginning on the summary tab.
mm,
And this could do the
mm,
job, right? It's free
yeah,
and it's simple to do, and it's like really create also accountability to everyone in the team, because everyone may be able to use a Google Sheet, but not
yeah,
everyone is able to use Salesforce or Tableau
mm,
or
yeah,
data stuff, etc. Right? So I guess this is the philosophy for a small and early stage. And to be honest, right, even at Paystack, we have like kind of like now a decent like sales size, right? We are
mm-hmm,
really against investing in very complex model. We prefer creating stuff in-house that are simple and that can
Mm,
just like reflect the data very quickly, right? We just want
mm-hmm.
the data, and yeah, I guess this is the answer.
Yeah, guys, I told you. This is something that he loves talking about. I like the
Yes.
fact that you're calling out like the words. You're not saying, you create like 10 this thing, you're calling out like the columns, like what and what could be like in the data that people small teams are measuring. Thank you so much for that. Really
Yeah, no
appreciate
worries. Tell me if I speak too much.
it. And so the next question is about building a data-driven culture. So the question is, what challenges do organizations typically face when trying to adopt a data-driven culture in sales, and how can they overcome that?
Yeah. Um, I think this is very challenging. It's super cool question because this is exactly where we are at Paystack. I think for a very long time we were a product-led company, and now we are more like trying to shift in this GTM sales
Mm,
stuff. But I would say like the main challenge is to start
yeah.
because to be honest, it's completely new, right? Selling in the market we're targeting, South Africa, Nigeria, etc., is something selling with digital data, etc., is something very new, right? We relied
Mm-hmm.
on the product for many years, and the product was sold by itself, right? Usually in the startups, etc. But now we need to focus more on those sales metric. The good way to start, I think, and to adopt this culture, I would say, do not do not hire, please, specialists who will look at the data for you, right?
Ah,
Try try to really
yes.
understand. It's better to have simple data, like I said at the beginning, right? Ratio, time, even on a Google Sheet, rather than like hiring data analysts, data scientists, and maybe even someone which is not like data analyst, right? Um,
Yeah.
who is better at Google Sheet, Excel, etc. I really recommend everyone roll out the sleeve and try to really embrace this data from the beginning, right? And everyone
Mm,
is accountable for the data every week, right? From the
mm,
sales to the SDR, the sales manager, everyone needs to understand what is this data, what is this number, and what does it mean, right? And step by step, you
mm.
can add another metric, another one, and another one. And this is how I think you create a very good data driven from the start, right? With simple stuff, but by making everyone accountable. I think this is the main challenge, really. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. Oh, thank you so much for that. So the next question, going to try to find a way to merge the two, um, because I'm trying to get to the point where we can give people time to ask questions and
Yeah.
give you enough time to answer. So, um, how can sales leaders, encourage their team to embrace the use of data consistently?
Yeah. Yeah. This is a super important one as well. Most of the time, the sales leader, they are here to ensure that everyone meets the number, right, on a very high level, like so target, etc., right? Based on the organization, like if you have an organization with everyone accountable for the data, they understand how this target is driven, right? So I'm gonna like match my quota, or I'm going to reach out my quota by having this number of calls, this number of deals, etc., etc. If you have this,
Yeah.
that's fine. But if you don't, you need to, as a sales leader, you need to like make your team accountable for it. What does it mean? One, like I said, do not rely on someone who knows the data, right, to do the job for you. Just challenge your team every week and ask them the question, right? How many discovery calls did you do? How many deal did you created? How many revenue did you bring? Do you think you're gonna meet your targets? If no, why? If yes, why? And I think this is really how the manager and the sales manager can really like embrace this data culture, because he make the team accountable for their data, right? Just by asking the question why, right? And I think this relationship helps building, I think, trust also. And yeah, and I want to tackle other problem. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. Having that conversational discussion with your team members on, oh, so it makes them like think, oh, see, this is what you did. Uh, and this is the result that you got after you did this. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense. So just a part B to that question is like, what are the common mistakes that sales teams make when interpreting or using data?
I think it relates to, you remember the example I told just at the beginning, right? We have a decrease in the number of closing deals, right? But
Yeah, yeah,
actually, the problem is not at the closing, it's at the beginning. Just
yeah.
because we're shifting our focus from closing, we need more leads, so we are like reaching out more contacts. We have less time to close, right? I think most of the common mistake is analyzing a number and saying, okay, this decrease or this increase. Actually, what you should say, and I think it's a good framework to be honest, like whenever you have a number, try to ask 5 times why, right? Why is this number decreasing? Okay, maybe it's because like my closing like behavior is not good, right? But maybe it's actually at the negotiation stage, or maybe it's somewhere else, or maybe it's somewhere else, or maybe it's somewhere else. And then
Mm,
divide. And when you like think something really makes sense, you try to like engage something that is more like actionable at this stage.
yeah,
Test it.
yeah,
Next week, if it still doesn't work, you deep dive again and again, and you try to
yeah.
find the other and the other. It's like a like issue tree, right? My closing
Mm-hmm.
rate is decreasing, right? Is it the closing the problem? Yes. Okay, you solved it. Is it not the closing? Okay, no. What is the problem? Then I'll deep dive. Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. So I think the mistake is just like looking at the number and never saying, so what?
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
The so what is super important in the sales environment, right? So yeah, because once again, data is easy to get. Most of the difficult part is interpreting the data. This is where actually the value added is, right? And no one has the correct answer until he asks the right hypothesis. He tries
Yeah.
to solve them, and if it works, that works. It means it's like the correct answer. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree with you. I know that something that we usually do is once we are using, excuse me, a particular kind of email or a sequence,
Yeah.
and then we have sent out like 300 emails and we're not getting the desired results, we just know it's not working. Instead of keeping keep on instead of us keeping on using that particular sequence, we just try to change it up and everything. Yeah,
But
data is really important.
excellent. That's an excellent example, because I love this example, because I think like sequences, etc., are the most data-driven like environment you can like look
Mm,
at. And actually, when a sequence doesn't work, a way to look at it is like, okay, my sequence doesn't work, right? Where does it not work, right? Is it like in the number of email open? Is it in the number of email like interested? Is it in the number of email replied? Or is it in the spam? Because you also have the spam rate, right?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
All of those. And then you look, okay, let's try to correct the spam. How can I correct the spam? Maybe I can use multiple CTAs, or maybe not beginning my email by hi every time, right? Changing the hi by hi, hello, etc., and creating a kind of spin tax, right? Those
Yeah,
of,
yeah,
right? Those could be
Yeah.
maybe reducing the spam or not. If it's not, you try to look at something else. Maybe my email is too long. Maybe it's not. Okay, let's try. Let's do an A/B test, right? Maybe it's not this. Maybe actually you didn't actually reach out the right channel. Maybe your sequence is just like LinkedIn, then 6 email. Maybe it should be LinkedIn, email, LinkedIn, WhatsApp, email, LinkedIn, WhatsApp. And you try to test. Maybe it's too long. Maybe it's too small. All of those, it's why, like, and it can take like many days and weeks, but I
Mhm.
guess it's worth it. And yeah, I guess this is how you could solve problem very quickly. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much. This is not one of the questions, it just came up now. While you were speaking about um a pay stack, you noticed or you realized that the issue wasn't at the closing, it was at the beginning.
Yeah.
There was not enough pipeline, and people and your sales team was focusing on the pipeline. I know that you've worked in sales in Europe and here in Nigeria. There's something that I know we do outside of Nigeria. For example, we have like segmented
Yeah. In this.
salespeople in different sales cycle,
Oh
like
yeah.
in different stages. For example, I'm working on the pipeline side to ensure that the people closing deals have enough pipeline to close
Mm.
the deals. And then there are some people, after the deal is closed, there are now account managers who pick up like the people who have been closed, the customers who have been closed, and then taking them, of course, as managing their account. So my question is, you know, I know you've seen some differences in the way we do sales here in Nigeria and the way we do sales there in Europe or America. Um, I'm not trying to compare, but what do you think? Like, which one do you have you seen that is more effective? I know with the other style, it feels like you're spending a lot of money on overhead costs, and with the way we do it here in Nigeria, you just have one person who just runs through, but people are fatigued and tired,
Yeah.
and one part is lacking, the other part is not
Yeah.
is getting well, stuff like that. What do you think?
Yeah, that's a great question, and actually, I didn't solve yet this question as well because I think like I'm working in different market at the moment, and without
Mm-hmm.
comparing even Nigeria with Europe or America, I would even compare it with other countries in Africa, right? With
Okay.
South Africa,
Mm.
with Ghana, even Ghana, right, which is a very close country. Totally
Yeah.
it's totally different. I would say that stuff like LinkedIn, sequences of emails, etc., they work very well in other market than Nigeria, right? Because it's
Mm.
like in Nigeria, we are less on LinkedIn and in our email and more on WhatsApp or on like a personal network channel or like any other channel, right? It's more
Mm.
like a question of relationship in Nigeria, right? Less than, okay, I'm just going to go on LinkedIn, try to chase this lead, etc., etc. Sometimes it's just
Mm.
like phone. Sometimes so the way we we are leveraging it in Nigeria, I guess, is that there is no one size fits all, and I think it will depend on the industry and exactly, someone said, like, I closed the deal on WhatsApp today. Exactly, all day. Like, you see this just in Nigeria, to be honest. I've never seen it in Ghana. I've never seen it in South Africa. I've never seen it in other countries like Kenya, even because those countries, they are pretty, like, they are plug and play like Europe, like LinkedIn, Apple,
Mm.
etc. Right? But Nigeria, I think the best way to answer this is that there is no one size fits all because it's a big market, right? It's not
Mm-hmm.
a structured market, right, for sales
Mm-hmm.
now.
Mm.
So I would say the best case for you is just to compare what you have based on historical data, what worked the most with this industry and this size of enterprise, and you create your own matrix, right? For example, you know that in the FMCGs, right, lot
Mm.
surprise, this channel works more than this, right? And you just try to spend a couple of days, right, looking at the pattern, speaking
Mm-hmm.
to sales, right, because they know they have this information, right? The account manager,
Yeah.
SDRs, etc. And I guess this
Yeah.
is how you can succeed in Nigeria by learning and testing, right? And some stuff that's worked 1 year ago can change next year, right? This is why Nigeria is so exciting, but this is also why it's so complex to, yeah, win Nigeria. Yeah, but definitely. Gertrude,
Yeah.
I think you had a question.
Yes, Gertrude.
Yes, please. I have a follow-up question to what you just said. And yes, I hear you. But the concern now is one of those of us that are trying to um, sort of fine tune our skills in a way that it's globally acceptable. What
Oh,
do you have to say about that? Yeah.
when you say it's globally, what do you mean by globally? You want to
So,
meet some standards, or?
yes, exactly. Like meeting standards. If today I'm working in this company here in Nigeria, tomorrow I want to work in a company in the US, just being able to fine tune your skills in a way that when you get there, you're not feeling like a fish out of water. If you get what I mean.
Okay. Okay, so just to give you just to give you a clear answer, I think if you, very controversial by the way, but I think if you manage to sell something in Nigeria, you can sell anything anywhere. Like, to be honest, because it's one of the most difficult market. The only thing that is different, right, in the other market is the way you structure your thoughts and the way you structure the process. Because in the other market, to be honest, you will have access to many tools. You will have access to the market. You will have access to the leads, etc. So it's more about relationship and sharpening your skills. This is what I observed at Google, right? At Google, what was important was not the tooling, the data, etc., right? Was more about how can I pitch something and how can I clearly define my value prop out of the product clearly to someone who has also a lot of other products coming to him, right? For example, if I'm selling YouTube for Google, maybe another would have sold Twitch or Amazon Video or whatever, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's
Mm.
more a story of competition outside, right? Rather than market acquisition, because the market is already tapped in other mature markets. So it's more about having tactical skills about the speech and being more convincing. But all of this comes from the product and the value prop and how you have good relationship with it. So to answer your question, I think you are more learning stuff in Nigeria that you would learn in other mature markets for selling, right? Because they are very mature, right? I'm not saying that you won't learn anything, but I think, yeah, the processes, the way to chase, etc. In Nigeria, I think it's one of the best markets where to, yeah, uh, work on his resilience, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. I would say true, but I will also add a caveat. If you're selling to oil and gas, I don't know. I
Oh,
don't
yeah,
know. I don't know what even the best.
exactly.
I don't,
Yeah, yeah. They are very specific industry, right? But I think, yeah, I think you will be. The difference is that in Nigeria, basically, you will not be
hmm,
very equipped with tooling stacks, etc., that enable you to get in
yeah,
with the person, right? In other
yeah.
markets, you have this equipment, but you need to be more convincing because actually your product is in competition with many other person, and it's more a
Mm-hmm.
price discussion than a value prop one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I know we diverted a little bit. I think I have another question, a follow-up question before we now move back to
Sure, sure,
data-driven sales.
sure. Yeah.
Temitope is asking, how do we communicate this customized sequence model? to stakeholders who expect global standard? Which stakeholders? Is it the prospect you're reaching out to, or the your employee or employer rather? Employers. Okay, so so the question is, how do you communicate this customized sequence model to stakeholders who, like, to your employers who expect global standards?
Mm, mm. That's a very good question because, like, and I think this is one of the mistake I've done at Paystack. At the beginning, I really like try to have everyone onboarded in these sequences, very structured, like flow, etc. Right? It's a common mistake with webhooks. You try to automate everything. You try to make the sales team like work less on painful tasks, right? But sometimes you
Mm-hmm.
forget what's the goal, right? The goal
Mm-hmm.
is the goal is, I think the best way you convince your employer is that actually, if the employer get it right, the goal is not to create sequence. The goal is to get clients and revenue, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
if you propose, like, if you're trying two things like very quickly, right? During 1 month, I'm going to focus on your sequences, etc. But I'm going to show you, and this is how you need to be accountable for the data. You need to prove it, right? If you use like your sequences and you see that nothing answered, the open rate like decreased, the interesting rate decreased, the revenue decreased, right? Or whatever, right? And if the other
mm,
month or the other week or like separately in parallel even, right, for different prospects, you're just using like a very chilled approach, which is just on WhatsApp, etc. And you
yeah,
prove to
yeah,
your manager like on a Google Sheet, hey, look, this column is my revenue out of the sequence. This column, which is 200% more than the column on the right, is my
yeah,
revenue having my approach, very chill approach. Actually, if I'm a
yeah,
good leader, if I'm a good employer, I would not even care about the approach you have. The
mm,
goal is the success, and I think the success is just the revenue at the end of the day, right? If you
yeah,
contribute to the growth, it's working, let's go. Yeah, but you need to prove it, right? You need to prove, and I think this is something very important to understand as well. Data is only here to back facts. Okay, it's facts.
yeah,
It's hypothesis or like feeling, etc. You can have feeling,
mm,
no worries, but you always need to prove it with data. Okay, when
mm-hmm,
someone tells
mm,
me, oh, okay, my sequence doesn't work, or like LinkedIn is not working, etc. Okay, show me the number of leads you get from another channel. Show me the number of leads you identify and the time you spent on LinkedIn really quickly. Boom,
mm,
you wait.
mm,
Okay, I agree, I disagree, we move on, right? But yeah, I think this is the correct way of proving your employer with data and facts. It's working or it's not working. And believe me, if it's a good employer, he will like forget about this standardization, global standardization, and focus on the revenue, I guess. Yeah.
yeah. I totally agree too. So just to show data, what works in the US might not work in Nigeria. Um, I think one of the things that you pointed out, Yanis, was about the toolings. We don't have enough tools. We don't have a lot of tools,
Yeah.
here in Nigeria for salespeople, or that salespeople use,
Mm,
because sometimes it's quite expensive,
yeah.
and it wouldn't make sense for an employer to buy, such tools. But sometimes I feel like there are very basic tools that, salespeople should have, like a CRM and sales enablement to, something very basic that will make a lot of sense. Okay. um Thank you so much. Back to the, oh, we just have very few time. So,
I can add like I can add 10 more minutes, no problem. If ever you
oh,
have
thank you.
no worries.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much. Yeah. Okay. This is about customer relationship. So it's asking, how does data improve the way sales professionals connect with and understand their customers? Are there specific data insights that can help sales teams enhance customer experience and satisfaction?
Yeah, like of course. And once again, it depends on your business. It depends on the product you sell, etc. Right? But like if I'm a sell and I'm trying to sell to e-commerce platform, right?
Mm-hmm.
I guess what I would look at, for example, is to really understand the satisfaction, right? There are
Mm-hmm.
many data you can have, okay, for satisfaction. One could
Yeah,
be, okay, what is my adoption, right? What is the number of transactions in the e-commerce platform after I sold my product, right? What is the
yeah,
adoption just after sales? After sales is super
yeah,
important. Like actually your work never like stop at the sales or the closing. It should like become like a long-term like journey, because the adoption is key, and the adoption is very key in the first weeks of month, right? So for example,
yeah,
something you could look at, right? Adoption, so growth on your product, upsell, right? Number of upsell. um, you could also look at something very easy, the number of tickets your customer or prospect or merchant, right, is sending to the customer support, right? And if it
yeah,
decreases, or if the tickets are more oriented to qualitative stuff rather than like product oriented, etc., it means that you are in a good way, right, to like make your prospect or your merchant happy, right? So customer tickets, what are behind those customer tickets, the adoption, the first curve, the ramp up, right, after sales. Um, for example, yeah, you can, during the process before closing a deal, you could just like see, just to interact, the number of calls, right, you need to
mm-hmm.
chase, right, your prospect, or the number of calls he like used to reach out to you because he had like many questions, etc. You can also tell if he's confused about your process, if he likes it, if he understands it by the sales cycle. If it's like a short sales cycle, you could assume that, hey, actually it was an easy one, he had a good experience, so I might replicate this to another sales cycle and another sales, etc. So yeah, you could leverage all of those data. Proactively,
Mm,
I would even leverage, for all the merchants you have, the peak season. The peak season is super important, right? E-commerce,
yeah,
for example, Black Friday, Christmas, etc., right? When everyone, or
mm,
travel, right? In Nigeria, I know that travel is peaking in November and December, even in January, right? Airlines,
yeah,
etc., like hotels, etc. You need, if you like, if your product is really based on like the end user, etc., you need to double down during those sprints to ensure that your customer has everything he wants to succeed in his most like important season of the year, right? So looking at
yeah,
proactively at the data and the market trends can help you on this, the success rate, etc. If you are in the payment like me, for example, what we look at Paystack, for example, for Black Friday in South Africa, we really double down with the engineering team before we have briefed 2 weeks before, right, Black Friday, and we ensure that everything is in place, so the transaction rate and the success rate is optimal for the customer. So there is no like frustration whenever you look at your basket or in the e-commerce platform and you buy your sneakers or whatever, right? You can buy them,
mm.
it works, your card works, or your EFT or whatever, etc. So yeah, those kind of data could, yeah, improve your sales connection, etc. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. As we conclude, the next question is about the future of data-driven sales. With the AI and a lots of technologies and lots of automation coming in at the moment, people saying that SDRs are going to stop having jobs and salespeople are going to stop having jobs because AI will do the job. So how do you see, sales evolving with, sales data evolving with this new technology, and are there like emerging trends or technology that you think, you know, would take over the future of sales, in the data aspect of selling?
Yeah.
I don't know if my
So
question makes sense.
yeah, it's very clear. It's very clear. Thank you. So first of all, I think that AI can be scary, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it could disrupt a lot of work. But I think if you embrace AI, right? If you start very soon to use AI, right? You could be like actually well positioned, not just to keep your work, but like to improve your work, right? And to make it even more powerful. The goal is not to like put an AI bot, right? And I don't think an AI bot will replace the sales, like maybe actually maybe in the very mature market at some point one day, right? But in Nigeria, for
Mm-hmm.
example, right, we explained that how difficult it is to tie bonds with people in Nigeria, right, with prospect, etc. I'm not sure an AI like bot could do this. So we will always need salespeople, right? But what we will need in the future is smart salespeople, people that are working not more, but more smarter, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you leverage the AI as much as you want. Your sequences, do them with AI, like remove the work. You want to analyze a Google Sheet, right? Download it in CSV, put it on ChatGPT. Hey, ChatGPT, can you calculate the trend over the last few months of my sales, right? You don't need to do a dashboard. ChatGPT will like read the CSV and give you the data, right? Those kind of stuff. If you really embrace this AI, right, you could actually sell more, right? And
Yeah.
yeah, I think this is key. But AI definitely, it's, I think in Africa, in the different countries, especially in Nigeria, it's going to give a boost to everyone to catch up on a lot of market very quickly, very, very quickly, because we have less barrier, regulation, etc. So the more we use AI for smart stuff, the more we,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. And I think this would be our last question, which is, for sales professionals who are looking to become more data savvy,
Mm.
what skills or tools or first steps do you think, would you recommend that they learn or they start with?
I think it's very easy, and I think it's very related to my past question, right? If, like, to be honest, my data journey was a nightmare, right? I
Yeah.
began with Google Sheet, not even like understanding conditional like formatting, etc. Right? It was like very. I spent hours, right? I had like back
Yeah.
in the days, right? Back in the days, I had to buy books, right, just to look at the formulas, etc. This took
Mm,
me just to ramp up with the data, etc. Now you have AI, right? Just
mm,
go ChatGPT and ask him, hey, I don't understand this formula. Can you explain it to me? I don't understand this. Can you explain it to me? You have YouTube,
yeah.
you have many forums. You are more equipped than anyone from my generation to excel at data. So I think to become data savvy, the only thing you need, you don't need to have like a brain or like to be super smart. Believe me, I'm not smart at all, but you need to be curious, right? I'm curious and I really try to leverage each and every number and understand what's happening behind, right? Because you always
Yeah.
will have someone smarter than you doing the job like quicker than you, right? That are like
Yeah.
YouTube, ChatGPT, or whatever, right? But the reflection behind a number and understanding the so what, etc., it requires a lot of curiosity. And I think the good starting point is like every day when you look at a number, you say, okay, what does this number mean, right? How can I track?
Mm-hmm.
So what, right? I have a trend, so what? And then I move on
Mm-hmm.
the next number and the next number. So I think it's really about curiosity and not capacity or like smart or yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much. This was so insightful. Um, I know that we have a few minutes left, so I just want to leave the door open for people who want to ask questions, get through this accent. Are there books to help us become better data savvy sales professionals, or courses you think we should take?
Yes, I think like you don't need any books to be honest, right? Like I said, everything depends on your business. Data savvy is not like there is no course, right? There is course to like create table. There is course to be better at Google Sheet. There is course to be better at drafting dashboard in data visualization, etc., extracting
Mm-hmm.
the data. You'll find many online. I don't even need to give you a list. Even YouTube, just YouTube, go on YouTube, you'll find everything. But I think the data savvy is just about curiosity once again. You don't need a
Yeah.
book to become curious. You just need to go
Mm-hmm.
like next Monday. Okay, I have my meeting with my manager. We have all of those numbers. Let's try to understand how we can increase the revenue. This is an easy question, right? Let's try to increase the revenue. How can we increase the revenue, right? Well, we can increase the revenue by increasing the price or increasing the volume. Those are very like simple and straightforward, but believe me, the more straightforward you are at the beginning, and the more curious you will be to try to understand more and more and more. And actually, more than data savvy, I think it's more structure. The word is structure. If you have like a structure approach, right, you will be data driven because you will ask questions. And if you think from first principle and hypothesis driven, right, you will put your hypothesis. I'm going to test it, yes, no, and you will ask data, right, to validate your hypothesis or not. But it's more about structure than just learning how to be data savvy. And to be honest, like most of the people I'm working with, they are data savvy because they are structured, right? They don't need to understand like the math or the function, the derivability, the complex stuff, the probability, but yeah, just more ratio. And the very last thing I think, once again, let's not forget we are in a sales environment, right? We are not at the NASA, right? At the NASA, or we are not at spaceship, at space. We're not
Yeah.
looking for Elon Musk, right? We're selling stuff, and we're selling to sell them more and reducing the sales cycle, right? So the
Mm,
ratio and the data we're looking are very like division and multiplication. That's it. That's it. If you have like very complex formula, it might need to challenge very well to understand if it's really what you need, right? But
mhm.
yeah,
Thank you so much, Yanis. I'll take that as the last question. So thank you so much, Yanis. This was very insightful. We are definitely going to bring back Yanis next year because I feel like there are a lot of things that, the questions just narrowed down his thoughts. We're going to bring him and probably we can unleash him to, to speak to us on data, driven sales. Thank you so much for being here, everyone. I know it's Thursday and end of month and sorry, end of year, and everyone is like, oh my God, let's get those meetings booked. Thank you for being here. Thank you for spending this time with us. It was really insightful. As we always do, this is brought to you by Tech Sales Nexus. If for any reason you are not in our community, Gertrude has posted our link to join our community. It's a community of sales professionals. Um, we try to learn from each other, network, work with each other on like different projects and everything. And you can also connect, yeah, also follow us on different social media channels: LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, X, sorry. um and Yanis, is there a better place? Thanks, David. Is there a better place that you want people to follow you, or LinkedIn is fine?
LinkedIn is fine. To be honest, I don't post a lot, but yeah, if ever you have like one question, to be honest, I'm very reactive on LinkedIn, and if ever I can help you in the future, to be honest, let me know. But yeah, thank you so much. And like to be honest, it was a pleasure. I will definitely come back. And yeah, this is a great community, and yeah, looking forward to see all the progress and the stuff everyone is going to achieve during the next couple of months. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank
Yeah,
you so much. Thank you, everyone. And I would like to give you back your evening. Thank you for being here. Bye.
bye.
Bye, everyone.